Gotcha. Quick thing. Sheriff Brisky brought coloring books again, and she wanted me to share that. So if anyone wants anything, go talk to her. But with that, I'll be calling to order the 26th session of the 55th Senate. And all those are willing and able, please stand. Ready? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
Thank you. You may be seated. Colorado State University acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations and peoples. This was also a site of trade, gathering, and healing for numerous other native tribes. We recognize the indigenous people as original stewards of this land and all the relatives within it. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties nations have to their traditional homelands are renewed and reaffirmed. CSU is founded as a land-grant institution, and we accept that our mission must encompass access to education and inclusion, and significantly that our founding came at a dire cost to Native nations and peoples whose land this university was built upon. This acknowledgement is the education and inclusion we must practice in recognizing our institutional history, responsibility, and commitment. Now swearing in as senators and associates. So if you are swearing in, please come to the front. Chief Trexel, I ask that you also join us.
Take that. Step back. So I can use the mic.
You can move to the left.
I state your name.
I, Marceline Bogart,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution
set forth by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
and will rightfully perform
the duties of my office
to
to
the best of my ability.
the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
And now we can just begin roll call. Alrighty, Chair Ricari, Senator Barrett, Senator Cole Johnson,
Present.
Senator Winston, Senator Tlaib, Senator Eby, here, Chair Aslan, here, Chairman Anti, Senator Hill,
Present.
Senator Melchior,
Present.
Senator Schumer,
Present.
Senator Chacon, present, Senator Snyder, Chair Taylor,
Here.
Senator McAllister Johnson, Chair Trout,
Present.
Senator Davis, here, Chair Frisky, here, Senator Reese, present, Associate Senator Rivera, present, Senator Barron, present, Associate Senator Camber, Senator LaSurf,
Present.
Associate Senator Alvarez, here, Senator Pickerel,
Here.
Senator Yankowski, Senator Buckner, Associate Senator Ozor, Associate Senator Leggett,
Here.
Associate Senator Miller,
Present.
Associate Senator Myers,
Here.
Associate Senator Burr, Senator Huizenga, here, Associate Senator Turner, Associate Senator Morgan, Senator Salazar, Senator Melka, Senator Rivera, present, Senator Ronke, Senator Zayal Ahmadi, Associate Senator Hernandez,
Associate Senator Ducharme, Associate Senator Mercado, Associate Senator Luna,
Present.
Associate Senator Lutz. And if I didn't call your name, come see me after the session.
Thank you. We move on to consent agenda. Is there any consent?
Madam Speaker, I motion to put LSAT ratification to the top of conference business.
Seconded.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions?
Abstain.
The ayes have that. We're going to put LSAT ratifications at the top of conference business. Is there any other changes to the agenda? Seeing none, I'm assuming we're going to gallery input. Is there anyone from gallery wishes to speak?
Sorry, point of order. No, yeah, point of order. Why is BSOF ratifications above conference business?
Put it there.
I thought they were.
They're just there at the moment.
Okay, I missed to fix that and put it in conference business.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? It's happened, we move to BSOF. I guess. His motion was read at the top.
I also have a point of information. Is BSOF ratifications for this year's BSOF or is that for next year's?
For next year's.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
I don't know. I have a big Hello, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Adrian. I am the Rem Events Liaison for the Pride Resource Center. Use he, him pronouns.
I'm Ashley. I'm the president of Brand Events. I use she, they pronouns.
Cool. And we're just here to talk to y'all about some events going on. For starters, how many of you like trivia with prizes? I'm proud. Come on. Cool. So if one of you can name me our headliner for Ramfest, you'll get a free plant. Yes. What'd you say? Yes, correct. So Midland is going to be your headliner this year for Ramfest. Student tickets are going to be $10. So I highly suggest you go. We're going to be out on the Plaza Net tomorrow for Wild Ram Roundup. If y'all want to ride a bull, fake bull, we're going to be out there tabling. There's going to be fun games, prizes, stuff like that, more plants. If you buy a ticket to Ramfest, we'll basically just give you two, free Focal MX tickets, which I think is kind of a steal. And then, yeah, Sunday is the annual CSU Drag Show. If you want to see a drag queen, like RuPaul's Drag Race, just want to meet a drag queen, you can go there. It's going to be from 6 to 9 in the LSC Grand Ballrooms. And then Ramfest is going to be happening April 25th, a Thursday, from 6 to 10. Sure. The opener is going to be Sugar Britches. They're a local band here in Fort Collins. And then Midland's going to be the headliner for that show. So highly suggest you get some tickets. Pretty cool opportunities. If you have any questions for me or anything, feel free to stop me. Or if you know Jess Deardahl, she's pretty chill. She has all the information about Ram events. So thank you.
Is there anyone else from the gallery who wishes to speak at this time? Great. Seeing none, we move on to executive reports. Is there anyone from the executive branch who wishes to report?
Hello, everyone. My name is Hayden. I'm the Director of Environmental Affairs, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
My name's Joseph. I'm the Deputy Director of International Affairs, and I use the E series. Awesome. So what I wanted to come up here and tell you all about today is a little Earth Month event that we're putting on Saturday. So what the goal is we're collaborating with fraternity and sorority life and a lot of different Greek communities to go and clean up as many parks as we can. And we've got a lot of people signed up right now. We're inviting different sustainable student organizations and pretty much any organization that wants to participate. And that includes you all. So these are going to be at Lee Martinez Park, Roland Moore, City Park, Spring Park, and one more that I can't remember right now. Yeah, Red Fox Meadows Natural Area. And we work to make sure that all of these parks are accessible, and we're gonna have at least 8 grabbers per group. And I'd love to see you all there if you're able to. So we're gonna pass around a little sign up. It doesn't have the specific information on there because I need to be able to group people into different groups. But right now we have 142 people signed up. And I think if we could get to 160, that would be really, really wonderful. So I hope to see all of you there. Any questions? Great, thank you so much.
Hello everyone, my name is Michael Stella. I'm the Director of Governmental Affairs here. Just real quick, we're having a really important right here in the Senate chambers this Friday from 2 to 3. Vice President of University Operations, Brendan Hanlon, who's the guy who makes the budget for the entire university. He's going to be here to answer questions about the incoming tuition increase. For in-state students, we're facing a 3% tuition increase, which is outside of the norm for in-state tuition increases. Usually that's capped at 2%. But the state is so low on funds this year that they had to bump that up to 3%. And for out-of-state students like myself, it's going to be a 4% tuition increase. And in actual numbers, that's over $1,300 a semester in extra tuition that we're going to have to pay. So VP Hammond will be here this Friday, 2 to 3. You have an opportunity to ask him questions about the university budget, about the relationship between higher education funding and our tuition rates. And it'd be great to have a packed house. We have about 40 people RSVP'd right now. So the more people we can get there, the more we can show administration that we're serious about having these tough conversations about the budget and stopping these tuition increases. So I hope to see you all there. If you have any questions, feel free to message me. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to let you know that applications for next year's cabinet will be dropping soon. The chief of staff position already dropped on Handshake. And although prior experience in ASCSU is preferred, it's not a requirement. It's kind of my philosophy that I'm looking for people with drive and ambition and initiative because that can't be taught. Experience can be learned, but those attributes can't be taught. So we'd love to have you on the team. Those applications should drop on Handshake soon. The chief of staff is open already, but I'd love to see your application come through. Thanks.
Awesome. Next, we have judicial reports. Is there anyone from the judicial branch would like to report?
So for starters, Chief Justice applications are open now and due next Friday, April 19th. I encourage as many people as possible to apply because the court is the place to be, right? It's cool. Thank you. Also, plan a pot day should be next Wednesday. I don't know because I was coordinating with Director of Health, George White, about it for next week, but TBD on that. Normally when we participate in that, we do a lot of like marijuana education, stuff like that, because it's kind of pot day, you know. And then I also wanted to talk about the opinion last week, since we didn't really get a chance to, just in case anybody had any questions, but loading. But I'll just start. So basically the question was, can an ASCSU caucus endorse a candidate in the general election? And the court found that no, they can't. And basically, we took the elections code section where it says that a candidate can't like use any ASCSU material or anything in a campaign to kind of support that opinion, because basically the whole purpose of that section in the elections code is to clarify that you can't make it seem that you're being endorsed by ASCSU itself. So having a caucus, which is, while it's not a part of any branch of ASCSU, it is still a body of ASCSU and a part of it. So we decided ultimately that that would give the impression that a candidate is being endorsed by ASCSU themselves, which wouldn't be allowed. So if anyone has any questions.
I can't remember if you already answered this, but does that also apply to other committees like LSAB and SFRB, this kind of thing?
I don't know if we put that in there. Unofficially, I would say yes, but unofficial. Anything else? All right. Happy Wednesday, almost Friday.
So we'll move on to legislative reports. If anyone would like to report?
I don't know if y'all saw the weekly email. Please RSVP to the eyeball as soon as possible, and also fill out that superlative. It's for a bunch of awards during the eyeball, and there's some funny ones in there like best dressed, best jokester, and so if you want to fill that out, that'd be great.
If anyone is interested in being the speaker pro tempore for next year and you have any questions, or you just wanted me to like know more about the job description and all that, feel free to come up to me either after Senate or just schedule a meeting with me and we can talk about that.
So the previous candidate for parliamentarian has decided not to take up that position, so we are still looking for people to take the parliamentarian position for next year. So let me know if you would like to do that. Also, on April 19th, there is the Engineering's E-Days event. So please come to that. We have a large variety of events from new synthesis methods for insulin that are not copyrighted, so hopefully cheaper, as well as things like developing ultra-thin solar panels. I yield.
So I actually have to bring something to your attention, so I apologize for my quick step out, some personal issues. Next week, we do not have these Senate chambers. The engineering department or college, the engineering college actually reserved these rooms and they've paid for these rooms. So we don't have these chambers next week. Parker told us that it was their advisors, some more higher ups. And so he's not able to work out the rooming. And so this is me asking y'all, we can host the Senate session on Zoom. But as of making the agenda today, there is what, 4 pieces of old business and 3 or 4 pieces of new business. 5 in new business and oh, never mind. 5 in old business and 3 in new business. 4. We have a lot on the agenda next week. So we can have it on Zoom. If we don't have Senate, that ends up giving us like 1 more day. So I just want to see if anyone has any other suggestions, definitely be open to it. But just kind of raise your buckets if y'all are okay with having Senate on Zoom next week. Thank you. And anyone who's not okay with having Senate on Zoom next week, you don't have to raise your buckets, but if you could give me a reasonable idea of what y'all would like to do, I'd be very open to that as well. Underhill.
Is there no other way to find another room, like North Ballroom or
The one big thing about finding another room is that I'm pretty sure somewhere in our files or constitutions, it's like the microphone accessibility. We make sure that we have like screens that people can use. Screens are not the hard part, it's the microphone part that becomes a hard part. Not any other room I don't think has all these microphones like we do. That's my one big thing. Chair Frisky?
How long do they have the room for? Is it like the whole night?
Maddie will be checking. Did someone else have? Chair Taylor?
I know some of the like classrooms we have, like in Glover, they have like a mic. That it could be challenging when we could pass that between people. That's something that we could look at least, as opposed to Zoom, because I'm not a huge fan of Zoom. But if that's what it comes to, then that's fine too.
Understood.
So this states that they only have it until 8 p.m. But I know that event planning likes to have a bit of buffer in between events, so they might not let us be in here until 8:30.
So we could start Senate at 8:30, 2 hours after. They have this room rented till 8. I can maybe get in contact with them and see how long they actually need the room. But as of right now, I guess we wouldn't have these chambers until 8:30. Senator Davis.
Could we start earlier than 6:30?
We can start earlier. When do we have the room? Is it still all day? Ooh. But starting earlier almost is not, because they have the room from 5 to 8. Chairperson.
What if we could do like half and half, like we do Zoom and then because of what we have on the agenda, there's a good chance it'll go past 8 o'clock. Like then we can meet in here after, potentially.
Chair Kelly.
No.
Thank you for your insightful feedback. Is there any other suggestions that kind of isn't Zoom for next week? If y'all would like to come up and talk about it, I would be very open to, because this has been a long conversation. Associate with that.
Does it have to be on Wednesday?
No.
What about Thursday or Tuesday?
We can have a Senate session on Tuesday or Thursday. We could do a Thursday session. I have my other job on Tuesdays. I'll write that down. It would have to be called as like an emergency session or a special session. It's under 18.
Is there any other room that has like 2 passable mics? So that you could have a mic and someone can be the runner.
Probably almost like.
I'm looking up there, sorry.
I'm gonna have this conversation for a couple more minutes, just so we can get to our agenda. Chair Osland.
I know from past experience, the usual rental price for a mic for a night is $48.50 from the LSC for student noise. Fix that. Helps.
Senator Salazar.
We could probably use one of the chemistry rooms and talk to the chemistry department about either renting out or using one of
their giant lecture rooms.
Yeah. It's something. It's got acoustics.
We can just pause it in the front row. So it's easier to run it.
Oh my gosh, and I can get one of those like flipped up mics.
Walk around.
Senator Pickle.
All of those systems, like in, like classrooms have two mics, one is a lapel mic and one is a handheld. I think they work at the same time. They might broadcast on the same frequency and get mad at each other.
I appreciate all of this. I was gonna say this last week, but we took out a bunch of our reports. So I will look. Hopefully I have all these. Yeah. I will look through all these this week and y'all will probably know by Monday. I think the easiest thing to do is to push Senate back till Thursday or to have it on Zoom Wednesday night. So those would be probably the two options that we'll go through. Past that, committee abstracts. Chair Trout.
Okay. Y'all, spoons are low this time of year. Okay, really quickly, the Accessibility Caucus, the Office of Health and Wellness and Disability Club will be tabling April 24th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the LSC Plaza. We plan to have some goodies to give out and just to give some information about Autism Awareness Month. We'd love if you would show up to that event. It'd be really, really cool. That's all I have for y'all.
Thank you. Chair Oswald. Hey guys, it's Wednesday. Yesterday we discharged all 3 pieces of legislation that got sent to my committee. So woohoo, on target. If perchance y'all want a y'all are interested in the Budgetary Affairs Committee chair position, but you're like, I don't know what it does. Talk to me and I'll let you know for next semester because I graduate. So get your answers while you can. And then on other unrelated news, I know tonight we have a piece of legislation that is going into its first read, and the content of it can often lead to contention.
Chair Oswald. I asked that this stays to committee reports and you can do this during Senator reports.
Okay, I can do that. Chair Kristen. We'll be collecting the books for the book drive on Tuesday, so please get your books in if you would like to donate. That's it. I did my time.
Thank you, Chairman Natu.
We passed all our legislation and we had a lovely guest speaker in our committee. Also, if y'all are interested in DEI chair, ask your questions and I will gladly answer them. I will still be here next year, but I also like getting ahead of the curve.
Thank you. Is there any other committees who wish to share an abstract at this time? Moving on to Senator and Associate reports. Chair Christie.
Okay, so it is, okay, let me start off. Okay, it's Sexual Assault Awareness Month, so stop by the WGAC and get a little blue ribbon here to show your support for survivors. We also have a lot going on around Sexual Assault Awareness Month, so check that out online. We have Bike Back the Night, which is 4/27, so if you like to bike, definitely sign up for that. But then we have Take Back the Night on April 30th. It's in the Laurie Student Center Ballroom C and D. It's from 7 to 8:30 p.m. It's basically a healing time for survivors and secondary survivors, and it's very beautiful. I went last year and it made me cry a little bit. If you also want to perform poetry, artwork, anything like that, I know I'll have some artwork there. Please sign up and just attend to support survivors. I hope my time.
Thank you. Associate Camber.
First, I want to mention that I really was trying to be here in time to do this for gallery input, which I don't typically like to use gallery input for this sort of thing, but it's personal. And I feel I would have really liked to do this sooner. So with that, I apologize for that. I really think it's important to make this statement about what happened at the debate. If you take anything away from the statement that I made today, I want it to be this. that I recognize that this actions went against not only my own moral and ethical values, but the values of this organization. I believe it's one thing to do research and hold public officials up to public scrutiny, but it is quite another to use someone's address in a way that could harm individuals and families. And I do not support or condone the use of addresses or any other public record for that matter for anything other than discussion and discourse. If I could do this all over again, I would have asked any of the other burning questions I have for our president. First, I want to offer my sincerest apologies to anyone who observed the debate, who felt as though this means that their identities could be questioned. That was not my intent. I am so sorry. And in reflecting upon my actions, I realized that the execution of the point that I was attempting to make was based in emotion, reactionary to harm, and lacking the depth of consideration and respect that each of you rightfully deserves. And while my intentions may have been principled, intentions do not absolve me of responsibility. It is impact, not intentions, that matter at the end of the day. This is a key tenet, not just within social work, but within all DEIJ work. I also want to apologize to the entirety of ASCSU for how this has impacted the organization, both its members and a perception to the public. I know that we have a PR problem, and I'm really sorry to have contributed to that. To those who are affected, know that your feelings are valid and your pain has been seen. I'm committed to making amends and listening with an open heart and learning from this experience. Your voices matter, and I'm here to listen, to understand, and to grow. I extend my hand in humility, asking for your forgiveness and guidance as we move forward. I've been working with the Student Resolution Center and their conflict resolution services team behind the scenes to create opportunities for conversation with individuals who have been impacted. And I'm also working to set a time for a group facilitation where impacted members of ASCSU and the student body could be invited to address the harm that's been caused. It'll likely be on a Tuesday from 5 to 6:30, but we'll figure out the details. It really depends on what's available. Any and all who are willing to participate in good faith are absolutely welcome. I really hope that my actions have not set an impossible standard for unachievable redemption. Historically, when harm has been caused in this space, it is refuted, debated, dismissed, or treated as a non-issue. That is the political way. But today, I hope that I can bring some humanity into the space and set a new standard. A standard where we don't debate whether harm has occurred. We own it and we set a trajectory for healing and restoration. In the last 24 to 48 hours, I've seen the harm from this election continue and perpetuate. We all have to stop acting in bad faith. We can go tit for tat for eternity. It has to end right here, right now. We owe it to the students we serve to put our egos aside and get back to work. With that, I also want to apologize for my constituents and disabled students outside of my constituency for letting this get in the way of the work. I let you all down. We could have been seeing a new and improved accessibility Lex last week, possibly with President DeSalvo's endorsement if it weren't for the mess that I've made. I believe in honesty, integrity, transparency, and accountability for all, liberty and justice for all. It's why I practically scream it every week. What is accountability or justice if it doesn't apply to me? So therefore, I have to practice what I preach. Most of all, I just want to say that I'm sorry to President DeSalvo, to Nick and his family for the distress and pain that I've caused you all. I also want to offer my heartfelt gratitude to each of you in this space right now for your patience and your understanding and your willingness to afford me the opportunity to make amends. I hope that I can earn your trust back, and I hope that we can still do great work together for the students of Colorado State University. I yield.
Thank you. Sure, awesome. A lot of things going on, guys. A lot. Number one, drag show. Adrian already said it. It's this Sunday. Show up. I'm not going to repeat the time because it was already said. Also, Lavender graduation is the 26th. If you are a queer student who's graduating, please fill out the form. If you are someone who knows a queer student who is graduating and you would like to be there to support your friend, please show. Now we're in the midst of Abita Swana Heritage Month, so APAC has a huge amount of events. But I'm going to plug just one because there's a lot. On April 20th is APAC's 40th anniversary celebration as well as Luau. Luau does have a ticket. For students, it's $15. Get that discount, y'all. A lot of work has gone into Luau, and
everyone would appreciate y'all showing up. And now finally, we have a piece of legislation that could possibly get very contentious during Q&A. I'd ask that we all take a moment to remember before we ask a question, that we are here for the students, and that we need to be kind and considerate of other people while we ask these questions and other identities that we may not hold. Thank you, I yield.
Thank you. Is there any other senators or associates who wish to speak at this time? Great. I forgot one thing I'm supposed to say. Just Doll is joining us today in the back of the room. So I just wanted to say hi, see what she does. She used to be our advisor, now she moved on to campus activities. She does a lot of great work, so please talk to her. Anyway, moving on, we have confidence business, kind of common term, but 2 hours on the confidence clock, as well as starting with LSAT rectifications.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Hello, everyone again. I'm Michael Stella. I'm the Director of Governmental Affairs. One of my job duties is to co-chair the Legislative Strategy Advisory Board, a board that's comprised of members from the executive, legislative, and the student body at large. We work with our contract lobbyists down in Denver to take policy stances on legislation at the state level. And I think we've done a really great job of that this year. We had an opening for one of our Senate seats. So I thought it only makes sense, since we only have 2 meetings left, that we would nominate Hayden Taylor, since Hayden Taylor recently won the Speaker of the Senate election, and the LSAT bylaws are clear that the Speaker of the Senate is required to sit on LSAT, so I figure it's pretty good job training next year for Hayden as the Speaker.
Yeah, I don't have much to say. That was a fantastic introduction. So I think we can just open it up to Q&A.
Great. We'll start with questions with the first raised placard. Senders.
What are you most excited for on LSAT?
It's a good question. I love just public policy. I think it's a fun thing. I'm a political science major, obviously, so I do love the political kinds of things. I was interested in joining LSAT when I first heard about it, but I didn't know if I would have the time to commit to that, so I didn't join it. So I was excited when I knew that a seat was going to be opening up. So I think just being able to be involved in those discussions, I'm excited about that.
Thank you, that answers my question.
Thank you, Senator Avery.
Sorry, this is a little bit more a question for Director Stella. Doesn't the new senator seats have to be don't they have to be nominated by the Speaker of the Senate? Not by you. Not that I have anything against him getting the spot, but formalities.
Yes. So yeah, technically you do have to nominate him just because it's basically like formalities, yes, but like unless you, yeah.
Right, well, we've done a lot well, I say we, that was probably not the correct word choice. There has been a lot of overstepping of the speaker's position this year, and I feel like we should not end on that note. We should probably end on a good note. I don't know how to rectify this situation. I feel like it's probably bad form to say, do you approve of this person right now? I feel like it's probably perfectly fine if Senator Taylor, Chair Taylor goes to LSAT and is like hanging out, but I don't feel like we should do this evening because Speaker Ayala deserves the chance to like have her moment.
If you don't want to nominate me, that's fine. I'm happy to go sit back down.
I just never knew this was happening.
Can I clarify that? So the bylaws right now, executive branch appointments shall be made by the ASCSU president, shall be ratified by the ASCSU Senate. Senate branch appointments shall be made and voted upon by the ASCSU Senate. So I guess that.
Okay, so I'm asking, is this like Senate votes and not ASA?
So now in order for this to be official, Senate will have to do a majority vote to whether or not to nominate Aiden and then to ratify him, I guess.
Okay, cool, thank you. I yield.
Thank you. So should we start with a vote of nomination before we get to the stop question and answer?
Point of information. I do have a question on this process. So the Senate has to vote to I thought it was only one person can say I nominate this candidate. And
One person says I would begin that motion, yes, and then it is up to Senate to say whether or not they approve of that nomination. Then we do the hearing processes. We are here with question and answer, discussion and debate, and then we agree whether or not to ratify. Does that clarify?
yes, well then I have a point of order in that since we already else had ratification on the agenda, isn't that enough to say, hey, we approve of having this particular election?
I would say that just having the ratification doesn't specifically state that a candidate is ratified or is nominated, but rather that this is a time in which you can nominate a candidate.
Here, I'll make this easier. I move to nominate Chair Taylor for the thing.
So this is a vote for nomination. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Great. With that, Chair Taylor is nominated as an LSAT member. And you were supposed to, we haven't got through voting. Now we will go to a period of question and answer, since Chair Taylor has no presentation or want to say anything. You have to go back a couple steps because you missed it.
Yeah, I mean, you all know me. Like I said, I was just notified about this recently, so I didn't have time to get much prepared. So I'm happy to just jump into the Q&A.
Okay, we'll start Q&A with the first raised placard. Chair Frisky.
How are you today?
Excellent.
Amazing. Can I motion a previous question?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? With that, we move out of the period of Q&A, and I ask that Chair Taylor please step out of the room. And with that, we'll open a period of discussion and debate. Tender evening.
Oh, I was told that you're not first, but I think we're gonna make the same motion. I move to nominate this candidate with unanimous consent for discussion debate.
Yeah, no, I was not doing anything.
Oh, sorry, I take back my motion. Have at it. I yield.
Chair Nanti.
This was a funny little surprise. But yeah, no, definitely going to do fine on LSAP. He good, in my professional opinion. I'm pretty sure all of us in Senate would say that. And yeah, no, I motion to go into a period of voting to ratify this candidate with unanimous consent.
All those in favor of leaving a period of discussion and debate, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Great. We move on to voting.
Motion to approve this candidate with unanimous consent.
Is there any dissent to that motion? There was two. Seeing none, this candidate is ratified unanimous consent.
Don't have it.
Please ask him to come back in.
Such a surprise. I know.
Alrighty. If judicial's not here, that goes to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Parker wasn't.
I don't.
Do you want to do it?
No, I was
Okay.
wondering if we
You
can do
were
it.
so excited.
Hold your right hand up. I state your name.
I, Hayden Taylor,
Yeah, there it is. Do solemnly swear to defend and uphold
do solemnly swear to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations set forth
the rules and regulations set forth
by the Constitution of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
by the Constitution of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Look at the next one, I promise. Oh, yeah. And moving on, we will move to BSOP ratifications.
Why did they see me? Why did they see me? Yeah. No, if you want to, I was gonna give it to them.
Okay, hello
Well, I
everyone.
don't know if they're for the summer board.
Yeah, so this is the first time we'll be able to hypothetically get the board ratified for before the summer. We haven't had a summer board in the past several years just due to timing, complications from COVID, all that stuff. But Ollie, one of his goals for me this year was to get a board ready before the end of the year, just to make it easier for the next director, get the summer board ready. So got a great lineup. We interviewed all of them. The board approved our selection. So we're gonna discuss all of them a little bit and let you figure it out. And then we're also missing Irene Akbar. She has a religious holiday, and then Tangia Jung cannot be here as well, but they'll be ratified as well in the future. So just a little summary on each person, starting off, Jekai Nunley. He's a first-year business administration major. He's the deputy director of basic needs. He's the secretary for United Men of Color. It's really important to be involved with student organizations, so being on United Men of Color will really help out. He's the Black definition secretary. He's a back lead peer coordinator and a great friend. Next up, we have Joseph Gottschall. He's a second year. He's also the director of international affairs. He's involved on the exec board of 4 different student organizations. Like I said, involvement is very important for BSOP. He was also a previous senator as well. Next we have a great friend as well. Up next we have Andrea Izenga. She's a first year. She likes to read. She's also an accounting major just like me. Good to have some of those on BSOP. Next up we have Nick DeSalvo, if you've heard of him. He's a third year student body president. This could be his 4th year on BSOP. Honestly, I would have been super lost without him this year. He just has a lot of knowledge of how BSOP works, how it's worked in the past, what events we've done. So it's good to have Nick again, hopefully. We also have Grace Shawstad, 2nd year. She's currently a BSOP member, and she's very funny and nice. Next up, we have Kyle West. He's a 3rd year studying economics. In his interview, he talked a lot about how martial arts has built him up. He meets a lot of different groups of people just through martial arts. He also talked about construction and how to conflict manage within that, because like long, hard days of working can lead to conflict. But he talked about how it's good to think about your conflict first before acting. So I thought that was cool. He's also assisted in raising tens of thousands of dollars for Fort Collins Rescue Mission, Larimer County Food Bank, and Crossroads Safe House. Next up, we have Sophie Noneman. She's 2nd year. Her interview really impressed me, and I'm also telling her she should apply for the Deputy Director of Finance job because she has a lot of experience with travel authorization and payments within CSU, which I think is really cool, especially for someone who's on the younger side of a student. Yeah, very well-rounded resume as well. Next up, we have Brooke Reese, second year. She's a senator, as you know. She also came to a couple of BSOF meetings, which I think is really cool as someone who's not in BSOF, just to be involved already. That shows like a lot of initiative to me. She's also really into Unicycle Club at the moment. Yes. And then Irene Akbar will come present later, but she's on COISA and helped do the World Unity event, which had like 5,000 people. So she'll hopefully be a really good BSOF member as well, but we'll have to find her separately, as I said. Without further ado, we'll do some Q&A.
So actually, there is a slight problem. In order to be ratified for the summer board, all members that are being ratified need to have had prior BSOF training. Has everyone here had BSOF training before or has worked in BSOF previously?
We were gonna do that on Tuesday, but that is unfortunate. What does this say specifically?
Let me pull back up the bylaws.
And quickly, just for a little accessibility thing, can you hand off the mic to everyone, have them step forward and say their names? Because I know you're just calling people out, not by order.
Okay.
So in order to be on the summer board, it must consist of ASCSU directors and former members of BSOF to have received the same training as an academic year BSOF board. So they need to have already been trained in order to be ratified for this board.
Madam Speaker, I have a motion. A motion to suspend that portion of the bylaws to ratify these candidates. Since these, if it can be promised that the training will be conducted Tuesdays, just a few days, and everyone's here prepared, I think it's one of those few occasions where I would like to make a motion to suspend that part of the bylaws.
I'll second.
Point of information, this is more for Parker, I'm not seeing that in the, is that a BSOF proposed bylaw, is that a Senate
This is
bylaw?
specifically BSOF bylaws, and I do not believe they have a section in their bylaws for suspension of those bylaws.
And it would also, the Senate, to my understanding, does not have the power to suspend other organizations' bylaws, maybe committee bylaws.
That is
like
also true.
But we wouldn't have the authority to suspend those bylaws.
So we can suspend our bylaws. So should I just get like a vote in our chat? Does that work?
If you have a quorum of BSOF members, current BSOF members that are ratified, that is, I don't know, because it's not an official meeting, so.
Right. It also says in our bylaws, so the summer board, no meetings shall be held, like it's all like electronically. So I think you can definitely do electronic voting on this.
We also might have enough BSOF members in here to do that.
To give them time to vote, I motion with unanimous consent to BSOF ratification after Senator and Associate Senator reports. I'm sorry, my bad. We're doing after new business.
Business.
There is.
Right above committee reports, is that what you're asking?
Yes, right above. Yeah, sorry, my right above committee report. How long is this this vote gonna take? You know?
I don't know. Depends how fast they respond in the chat. But we have like 5 here, so we just need 2 more.
Okay. Maybe we should give some time. So can I motion with unanimous consent to move ratification of BSOF? Can you move up on the agenda, please? When first privilege. Okay, there you go. Where are we at?
We are right above old business.
Right after old business.
There is no old business.
Right after new business.
So above committee reports.
Yes.
Is there any dissent? Chair Frisky, did you have a motion of any kind?
I guess I have a point of inquiry. Can we put it in between, like after the first bill? That doesn't feel great, but so they don't have to stay the entire.
They can do it wherever they want.
I'm gonna amend my motion. Sorry, I motion for a 5-minute recess. A motion for a seek unanimous consent for a 15-minute recess.
I think you probably would stick with the, maybe putting it after maybe one or two pieces, or?
Okay, then I'm gonna do, a lot of people are telling me different things. After Lex number 5306 updates to LSAP bylaws, a motion to put ratification of ESOP members under, after updates to LSAP bylaws with unanimous consent.
Is there any dissent to that motion? Seeing none, we will put the ESOP ratifications under Lex 5306.
I literally just got told about it, like, that's what I was doing on my computer this whole time. Where's everything? So after this one? What's funny is their bill to amend the ESOP bylaws would have fixed this.
Alrighty, y'all. Let's bring it back so we can get back to those. And with that, we'll open up to Bill 5321, the El Centro Somos Latina X. I didn't get that last part, Bill.
It's my fault.
You're fine. I should have the agenda pulled.
So this proposed bill seeks to allocate $10,000 from the Senate discretionary fund to El Centro. These funds will enable El Centro to purchase Seraph and Central South American and Caribbean stoles for their graduation ceremony. Additionally, an extra $4,000 will be allocated and evenly distributed to NACC, NAC, APAC, BAC, and Pride for their graduation ceremonies.
Great. Is there any committee edits that were made to this bill? Is it this new business? This is new business. Never mind. Y'all have a 5-minute presentation period.
Hello, okay, this is my first time presenting a bill or creating a bill. So I'm like, I'll talk about why it's almost super important to us. But as you can see, we have two of our serapes. We have our serape and our Central South American serape as well. And in our culture, this means a lot. We actually, these are handmade, our Central cultural ones. And then these are ones that I would probably wear if I was graduating. I wore it for my high school graduation as well. But pretty much what Somos is a graduation ceremony. Okay, so yeah, it's a graduation ceremony, and people, families and students who are currently graduating during the summer, the spring and fall, they come together in the ceremony, and they're able to bring in their parents. And for a lot of people, I know when my brother graduated, my parents cried because they were able to walk up the stage with my siblings, and my parents like never graduated college since we're first generation students, but they were actually able to place their serape over my brother, and it was something super meaningful to us. Just seeing someone like finally accomplish and be able to graduate across that stage, super meaningful to us, and it's just something like that, just to bring more community in. And we're just asking if we can like get a little bit more help to ensure that every student is able to have these sold without having to purchase any of them, and just to allow incentive to be able to give this back to students. And we're also asking for $1,000 extra to be able to fund $1,000 for APAC, BAC, NAC, and the Pride Center to be able to help them out with their graduation ceremonies as well.
Thank you. We'll open up the period of Q&A with the first raised button.
Can I actually make a suggestion real quick? If I'm correct here, this just says that it is 10,000 and then 1,000 for all of them. So would you like to add the word each, so that way that 1,000 goes to all of them? Cap.
Sorry, this is more of a point of clarification for folks. The piece of paper that was moved around was for additional endorsements. I know y'all have seeked out endorsements and have done a lot of endorsements, just weren't able to add it onto the bill before the floor. So I just wanted to let folks know that that's what was going around. And I know they had those folks. Beautiful. Okay, just wanted folks to be aware. That's all I yield.
Is there any other questions? Right. Alrighty, with that, we'll send this to university, DEI, and budgetary.
Thank you.
Oh, wait, it's the bill that doesn't exist.
It's Lex 50.
It's the one that you figured out. Maybe if we actually probably
Okay. Lex 5306 update to LSAT bylaws. That one was never sent out in the weekly email. Here. Or someone who wrote or collaborated on the bill can come down as well.
So while they come down, I'm just gonna explain the situation. Since it was not included in the weekly email, the only way for this Lex to be held is whether or not we vote on whether or not this counts as an emergency. And so it can pass through our accessibility guidelines. That is, what is that vote? It's either 2/3 or majority. I'll be looking it up after this, but yes.
Then I motion with unanimous consent for a 10-minute discussion debate on whether this is to discuss whether it should be an emergency or not.
Really quickly, could we have the bill presented? Because I don't know what I'd be discussing about for 10 minutes. Because this wasn't sent out in any capacity.
Could we have a point of information as to whether we could see it if it were read in full? Does that satisfy? No. Point of order. Reading in full does not satisfy the 48-hour requirements because of various disabilities. So that is why it's specifically written in that, like, sure, we'll read in full if it is actually an emergency. But if for any other reason, and again, Senate gets to vote on that. But for any other reason, it just gets to wait until next week because otherwise we have had far too many times where we have read every single document in the agenda because it wasn't set on intent. And that creates a lot of hatred towards the accessibility documents. Understood. Yield.
Alrighty. Going back to the first motion that was made for a 10-minute discussion debate. Is there any seconds? Is there any dissents?
No, you can't expedite.
Yes. Dissents, yes.
When we're, since it was dissent, we vote,
No. Yep.
On the agenda, but not.
then I motion, then I make a
never
motion
received
for
the bill, so I
10-minute discussion debate. I think we should discuss whether if we should have it as an emergency session or not, or if it's counts as an emergency.
I'll second that.
Correct. All those in favor of opening 10-minute period discussion debate in order to discuss and debate if this is an emergency, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions?
Abstain.
The ayes have it. We'll open up a 10-minute period of discussion debate with the first word placard, Chair Trout.
Like, I'm gonna yield to the presenters of the bill so they can talk about the bylaws. Allowed, if that's an okay thing to do, I'm gonna assume yes, because no one's yelled at me yet.
So are you listening to me, Trout?
Yes, I'm yielding to you.
So basically, so the reasons why this needs to be on the floor today is because of the LSAT bylaws. And unfortunately, because this is the first alpha elect, that is gonna make it in the Constitution, we need three readings to do it, so we can unfortunately do it next week. I wish we could. And basically, this is the reason why this is so important because the LSAT bylaws, we don't fully officially have it, so non-ASCSU members can actually be on LSAT fully. Like, we really want to make it so they can for next year, because me and Michael will be here next year, so we want to make sure people know that what the real goal of this was, because we don't have to want to make so me and Michael next year have to find a new director, come to affairs, make them pass in the beginning of the year, and go through all that work. And also, we made some other changes to clarify LSAT bylaws, because the person who created them in 2017, they were in ASCSU but never in Senate, like they didn't know everything's going on. So we've been kind of like slowly trying to improve it. And I've reached out to them as well. We talked. It's basically this Lex is made so that finally the LSAT bylaws and everything we've done in that will reflect the Constitution. So when we confuse them for the next future director of government affairs.
Okay, good. Parliamentarian, could you scroll down to the, I think I understood.
So there are 4 clauses?
Yeah. So this is just overall changing the bylaws, and I understand that LSAT bylaws require a constitutional amendment pursuant to the Constitution. This is more question and debate, or Q&A, so I'm not gonna phrase it as a question, but I guess I don't see the importance of it, and I understand that it's important for LSAT to be able to function, but this, I mean, you've already written it, so it seems very easy to be in the transition report of like, there you go, finish this as soon as you can. Thanks. That's kind of more what I'm seeing this as. Also, I know the legislative session ends within a month, give or take, so like, that's also kind of a big thing for me in my consideration in terms of whether this is important. I think it's important. The job of LSAT has been really key this year, I think, to the law of successes of ASCSU, but I don't think this is important enough to violate our accessibility guidelines. Not anything against y'all, but that's just those thoughts. This can wait until next year and it's not going to do any harm, I don't think. With that, I yield back.
And just going off that, so basically, the way this is written, like, I do understand like the red interest report, but next year.
Sorry, this is.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Associate Campbell.
Kind of echoes that a little bit. This feels like general policy housekeeping. I don't think that constitutes necessarily an emergency. I think that I don't see what's the sense of urgency that it can't wait. I guess, is there something that is there a reason why it wasn't introduced sooner, or is there a reason why there's a sense of urgency other than just to make things easier for next year?
It'd have to be, we are in discussion, just because we didn't, there wasn't like a presentation period for this, we went to discussion.
I'll go to our speakers.
Yeah, I think for general housekeeping, it's important we get it done now. And we sent it in at the deadline. There was just miscommunication with the parliamentarian. So there was just a misstep somewhere along the process.
Point of information, I just want to say that no accessibility guidelines are set out there to punish any one person, especially like no matter whose fault it is that it wasn't in the weekly email, it was still not in the weekly email, and that's the issue here. It's none of this conversation is happening to be like, oh, you didn't send it, how dare you, we're not going to see your stuff. I yield.
Thank you.
I'm worried about setting precedent. That's all I yield.
Senator.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So LSAB has, I've done, quite a bit of work this year, and they've worked hard, and, based on so far, they have done a really good job in trying to, keep things on time and everything so far until, yes, it could have been, circumstances could have been sent in the end, but as we're at the end of the year, I mean, we're gonna have summer is a huge gap, and I fully believe that because of the important work that LSAB does and how much they work for our student body, I think that it is incredibly vital that we make sure that the organization of LSAB is functioning properly. So I do encourage a yes vote on this to be heard. I think that so I yield.
Thank you. Chair Kelly.
Fantastic. I do not think the vibes of urgency are there. Straight up, I think next year will be fine. Introduce it beginning of next year. And I would like to motion the previous question.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions?
Division.
All those in favor, please raise your placards. We are voting on. No, we're voting on to get out of a period of discussion and debate. That's what we're voting on. Yes, associate senators may vote. This is procedure. You can put your placards down. All nays, please raise your placards.
What exactly are we voting on? I'm like, sorry, we're a bit confused back here.
Yeah, we are voting on to move out of a period of discussion and debate. You all can put your placards down. Any abstentions? Great, you can put your placards down. What's the version of 2/3? Please momentarily wait as I total these votes. Do the math. Right, with a vote of 16 to 11 to 3, this motion does not pass, and we continue on with our speakers list with Senator Davis.
I have a question that'll lead into my discussion. Is that,
It's like,
is that cool?
we missed a presentation period, so.
Can you expedite, Lex?
Yes.
Yes.
Why don't we just move it to next week and then expedite it?
I was told we can't, that's.
We also.
You can,
That'll happen.
so you are able to expedite it at any time. It just didn't have the time to go through the normal processes. Oh.
You cannot expedite a Lex. I apologize.
I'm lying.
I yield then, and I don't have a solution, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Everyone who also raised their placards, please re-raise them so I can get you down. I do have you three. I do not have you. With that, wait. Senator Salazar.
Just wanted to mention, because a couple of weeks ago, we had the same situation where we had a bill presented and it was asked whether or not we could read it since it was not in the email and it was voted against it. I was just assuming we could follow president here that
Just a point of clarification on that to answer your question. Since that was a bill, we can expedite bills and we can kind of go through those procedures. With Lexes, they're different. And we always try to encourage to not do the read full and do all the things, but because this is a Lex specifically, that's where the issue is here in terms of expediting it, getting it ready on the floor. If it wasn't a Lex, it could wait until next week, but because it is Lex, there's issues there. So does that answer your?
yes, it does. Thank you.
Did you yield?
Yes, I.
I'm sorry, y'all. There's a lot of technicalities going on up here. Senator Milkweir.
First off, just point of information, which portion of this bill requires it to be a Lex? What portion is amended in the Constitution?
So the LSAP, technically, any change needs to be elected because of how it was written. It was written in 2017. Part of it was that it needs to go through Senate for constitutional change to be amended. And I got the strokes.
Sorry, the bylaws provision that requires the constitutional amendment is section 603, subsection G subsection I, which states, quote, any change to the previous legislative strategy advisory board bylaws must be presented to and passed by the Senate by 2/3 vote. That's all.
Okay, point of whichever one of those is a question, because I always call them the same thing.
Information.
Okay, information. That's just saying that it needs a 2/3 vote, not that it's a Lex.
So, but if, because it changes constitution, does it have to be elected? If it doesn't have to be, I'll be bringing that next week.
Because that just sounds like it's just a 2/3 vote, but needing a 2/3 vote, I don't necessarily think it means it has to be a Lex. It just says a 2/3 vote.
I have been told by the authors that it does change the constitution, and so it is a Lex. I'd say at this point, we have figured out that there is not any loophole around this being a Lex or not. And so I'm gonna consider any more discussion on this topic non-germane, and we will be moving directly into that period of voting.
Alrighty.
We can still discuss what's emergency.
Okay. We will then bring it back for a discussion on whether or not it's still an emergency. Actually, no, we're not. We're out of time. I knew there was a reason why I stopped it. Anyway, yeah, we're back down to voting.
Wait, Senator Hill, did you have? Perfect. Will, do we have certain way of voting this?
Yes, just a normal vote, majority vote.
Right. This just needs a majority vote, so all those who believe that this is an emergency, please raise your placards. That's how I'll do this.
Yes.
Yes, this is procedural. You can put your placards down. All those who do not believe this is an emergency, please raise your placards. Please keep your placards raised. Okay, I do you to. You can put your placards down. All abstentions. You can put your placards down. Okay.
What? Majority, correct? Yeah.
With a vote of 10 to 13 to 3, this does not constitute as an emergency.
I motion for a 5-minute recess for everyone to regather. I think there's a very weird energy going on and we benefit from it a lot.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? 5-minute recess. I'll see you all back here around 7:58.
Hayden always on team 4 a.m.
I just want to get it done.
I know.
What happened? It was midnight.
All I know is that you're probably.
I need to be able to wake up. Yeah.
Next.
I have a question about
I called them all.
Yeah, you'll learn never.
So
Okay. I don't have a TV.
Sure. That saves you time.
Yeah, I mean,
You also need to.
Okay.
That way you just don't have to do it.
I also thought you could. Yeah, see, you're good. Never schedule a class early in the morning. Thursday. Literally, it's a
But then they have to come back though. Yeah, but that's way easier. And we still have forum.
Yeah, like I can't do it.
All right, what else do we
If
need?
there's only one option,
I'd say you might receive a judicial opinion after this because you are suspending based off bylaws, which there is not a clause in your bylaws to suspend it. And so, yeah, because obviously if you can suspend your bylaws, that means you can suspend funding rules and can give as much funding as you want to whoever you want for any reason. So that creates an ethical problem. So there is a large likelihood that there will be a judicial opinion.
Okay, I'm ready for that. We've also always done that.
That's
Like,
why we did
suspended
this,
parties.
this confession session. Yeah, because like you were so far away that I was like.
Yeah, I have so many tabs of various documents that I've been having to look through.
Fair.
I don't love it.
I always forget that I have to say here, and then they say my name, and I'm like, are you
Yes.
It's fair.
What?
You didn't answer.
I guess it's exciting.
How are you enjoying all this? People coming to you for questions. You don't stay here long.
Questions I don't know the answer.
So what was the thing you told Ashton?
So if they can suspend their bylaws, that means that they could suspend their funding rules and what can and cannot be funded. And so they could technically just suspend it at any time to give funding to whoever they want and as much funding as they want. Which is why I believe in the original bylaws, they don't actually have a clause for suspension. In fact, actually, I think there's a clause for if they vote against their bylaws, Senate can challenge them. Basically, revert any change that they make.
You know your owner.
I feel like the second thing I was gonna suggest is like just say, ask the Senate.
That's fair.
I remember there was something that was like this tax.
We'll talk with Dana about it. We'll see.
I'd say your best, we have next session, is that the end? No.
No, long bill's like this.
Girl, long bill, I don't think that's war. The long bill. If you submit it next week, yes, the 17th. I'm going to, I'll make this a little like.
Does it have like a date?
So, I'm not, it's gonna be on, so my biggest thing is that I'm gonna make an exception. If you can get it to me by Friday, I remember. Oh, I thought tonight. So that's why I make an exception. I can just ask.
I'll be back.
Can we add this?
Like, first right now.
Just get it to me by Friday. And please send it to the front desk.
I already sent the front desk email.
Because it's literally like.
Great, thank you.
Yes, so there's a few situations where I can do based off language. Option one is it goes through hopefully no one challenges that they were able to suspend it by rights. Otherwise, they don't have anything in there that allows them to suspend it. What else they have is the power to amend the Senate's approval, which would also let the state have to get approval. So that could be a vote of Senate or majority vote. It's really up to you whether or not you want to do Senate approval before letting them do it and just skip the whole suspension of the bylaws debate entirely and just be like, does Senate agree to hear these candidates and just do a majority vote that way?
I think the biggest thing is that if we don't bring it up, they can definitely go and ask. Okay, so that's technically a question for Ashton as well.
Yeah.
So should I?
Okay, but like.
Does this?
Okay, but like, what, does it have anything about right? Okay, here's the thing. It's gonna take two days. No matter what. Like, it's like and then in the next No.
So I'm watching you guys. I see it. Y'all make a number.
I can communicate on that.
Actually, would like to do the majority vote.
Okay. Yes. So I just asked Senate if they are.
Just basically be like, the Senate agree to hear these candidates with the intent of ratifying.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna start.
Thank you so much, Ben. I need to figure out how to log on.
We also only have an hour left.
Well, one, you don't have, but two, it's like, you can just hire one of your, you put me in a t-shirt, you wear like, no one cares. Yeah. So, it's my turn to say that it's the support of the it's usually like, yeah, there's fine.
He sent it to me.
And it's always.
Take your normal.
Yeah, take your.
Why would he send it? He did send it to me first. Why
Not
did
that
he
you
send
see like next week, you're like, yeah, it's really, yeah, and dancing, like pictures.
I found it.
It's cool. Yeah, well, like you can totally work on that, but you didn't know what we were. It's, yeah, it's like really what everybody's like. Well, Ava also ignores, she gets. Oh, we're talking about eyeball. You get a speech and eyeball technically.
Didn't even bring up eyeball.
Yeah.
I will play him really annoying.
Valid.
I did not mean to stress you.
No.
I'll look how bad.
Are you breaking that?
Will they also? No, like just like the whole time.
Ready?
And then
Hello, everybody.
It's amazing.
Let us go a little bit over. So let's
pre-high school.
bring it back. Let's bring it back. And with that, we move back to the soft ratifications. We have decided to go forward with a vote of Senate. If we would like to hear these candidates with the intent to ratify them. And in a technicality, could be staff members who do have training get ratified too.
Yes.
So this would mostly be, to hear all candidates, and then if this doesn't pass, you hear the candidates who do have training.
It can also be like me and Ollie will make sure they'll get financially trained. We talked about this in our check-in. I mean, they need to be financially trained, so it'll happen. Yeah.
Point of information, when is the next VSOP meeting that they would all be going to?
We were gonna try for Tuesday, but if we can't get that to work, we'll move the time around to whatever works in the next week or so.
Okay, let me rephrase why I'm asking my question, because I'm kind of confused as to. So I'm trying to make sure that they would be trained before whatever meeting, but I don't know how VSOP does it, like, do you train after the meeting or before the meeting? Tell me
Oh, I
about
see
that.
what you're saying. For the first meeting to like hear and like do all that stuff, it'd be over summer. But then, so we're just gonna do the financial training like in the next week or so before summer starts.
Okay, so they would for sure be trained before they have any duties.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Great, we'll move with a vote of to hear these candidates with intent of ratification. If anyone has any questions on that vote, please ask now. Great. Seeing none, all those in favor of hearing these candidates with the intent of ratification, please raise your placards.
Yes.
Do you want to?
Associates are able to vote.
Thanks.
Everyone please have your reflections. Y'all can put your placards down. All those opposed, please raise your placards. Any abstentions? Thank you. With a vote of 21 to 0 to 2, we'll hear these candidates attend to verification. I ask that you still please state your name and step forward so we're able to know which one of y'all's is which.
Cool. I'm just gonna have them do smaller introductions this time. All right. I'm Ashton, Director of Finance.
Nick, President. Joseph Gottschall, Deputy Director, International Affairs.
I'm Grace. I'm the current returning RSO liaison for BSOF.
I'm Kyle West, and I'm a prospective BSOF member.
I'm Sophie, and I'm also a prospective BSOF member.
I'm Andrea, and I'm a senator.
Jakai Medley, I currently serve as the Deputy Director of Health.
I'm Brooke Reese. I'm also a senator.
If going to do your, if this was the mini introduction, then you can, because Ashton said y'all would be doing mini introductions.
Bigger one.
No?
Okay,
Great.
I motion to put these candidates on the slate.
I was waiting for that one. Any dissent? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Ayes have it. Great, these candidates are put on a slate. And we'll start with the first race placards for Q&A. Chairman Austin.
Not all the fashion questions. How do you intend, thank you, intend to handle any internal biases you may or may not have when it comes to seeing funding for clubs?
So this will be my 4th year on BSOF if I am ratified. And it actually stems from a Supreme Court case. We have to hear all events in a viewpoint neutral manner, meaning that it's not really what the event is about. It's, are the budgets correct? Is the money going to the proper places? Do they have the right amount of co-sponsorship? And so from that perspective, it's very easy to put personal biases aside. We've funded all types of events because the budgets are right. And so I'll continue that, that perspective going forward. I would say that it just comes down to the internal perspective of upholding the organization's values, looking at what we do, why we're there to do it, and then just doing that. And as Nick said, funding the events, all of the events, hearing all of the cases, doing what we can to support the student, should not be biased. And so I'll just be observant of that.
I have a similar perspective. So I think the bylaws existing kind of prevents any biases that would have otherwise existed from happening. I mean, if an event follows all the bylaws, as Nick said, and they lay out their budget and they follow everything, then it kind of prevents us from denying them funding on any discriminatory bases. And we keep each other accountable in that. And my year of experience in BSOF has shown me what keeping each other accountable looks like.
So I agree with that a lot. I think following bylaws to avoid biases is really important to follow those so you can kind of like have a good framework on what to decide on. Also, just if you tend to not be fair and reasonable to all parties involved. So interest of doing that, so it's important to stay pretty there.
I'm a very analytical person just by nature, so from a purely financial standpoint and like budgetary standpoint, if you have the right math, you put a lot of thought into it, I feel like it's pretty easy to stay unbiased and then keep personal values and biases out of it.
I agree with the procedures. I think that if the procedures are followed correctly and appropriately, it shouldn't be a problem. But if it is, taking accountability for mistakes is definitely important as well.
As it relates to the question of biases, I've never met a student I couldn't relate to. And so just centralizing and making sure that students are at the heart of the work that I interact with in every capacity allows me to put those biases aside, because it's truly about interacting with students and the betterment of the student experience. So I'm not worried about that for myself, and I do thank you for your question.
Similar to what Jakai said, I'm a big believer in servant leadership. I think accountability, the bylaws, communication, all of that is central to everything that we should be doing in ASCSU. And BSOF is just a primary example of that.
Thank you. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. For folks who are here, I would ask you my normal questions, but I'm not doing that this week. That's her job this week. So this is the first time that we've had a summer board in a hot minute. And I know from personal experience, it can be really hard to engage with students over the summer. So how do y'all, both as a collective and as individuals, plan to do the outreach so that students know that BSOF is functioning and ready to give out funding, basically? How y'all plan to do that?
That is an amazing question. I think it's similar to any other type of outreach. It's a matter of being involved, staying involved on campus, making sure that resources that are notable are talked about, talking about it in those spaces that you enter, and just yapping as much as possible.
We have phenomenal student leaders, and so most of them are probably going to be planning for their next year over summer anyway. And so reaching out to those organizations who we see are active, or sending emails out, or recruiting actively through via social media or whatever channels it may be, is going to be imperative to the process. I think there will be other steps needed and other measures required. However, I do know that we have student leaders who are mind blowing, like they blow my mind. And so I think it'll be easy to do that. I don't look at anybody up here and think it'll be challenging. It seems like a good group of people.
I want to put an emphasis on social media. I feel like that's a great way to get the majority of students involved. So I think if we lean on that aspect, it would be involvement.
Just kind of leaning into that social media aspect, like the CSU 26, 27, 28, those type of stories on Snapchat. A lot of people see those every day. And so literally just a simple post on there telling people what we're about, what we do, what we offer would be a great way to do that.
I agree with everything they said, but I also think it's very important that you keep your ear to the ground and hear what's going on around campus. Being pretty well involved and knowing a lot of people around campus is really important, especially for helping fund future events that are going to be in the future. So I really am going to stay around campus this summer and keep my ear to the ground.
I agree with all of that. I also think it's important to recognize the smaller scale that events will have over the summer. A lot of students go home, and the proportion of students who stay in Fort Collins just is a lot smaller. So we've discussed that as a board and adjusted our maximum amounts that we would allot to those groups accordingly. So it is important with all of this outreach that they've discussed, and I'm confident we will have outreach, but it's also important to not set our expectations as high as they would be for events within the academic year.
I believe that one of my strongest skills as a leader comes to outreach and marketing, whatever organization I'm a part of. In my experience currently, as being involved in so many different RSOs, I've gained, the ears of a lot of different people, whether that's in Greek life, campus ministry, just your average academic RSO. I know a lot of the clubs, sports teams, and then I know all their leadership. And I think that that's what I can do to help over the summer. But even furthermore, just extending that hand of collaboration, everybody standing up here because I don't represent everybody, and then falling back on what everybody else can do, we can reach as many people as possible.
Really ditto to what everyone else said. I guess I would add some context as to why we're doing this summer board. We kind of ran into this issue, it wasn't last year, but 2 years ago, when BSOF hadn't been established or ratified yet during the fall. And so there was an event, it was the House of Wellness Drag Show that the Senate itself had to fund because BSOF wasn't set up yet. This summer board kind of serves as an opportunity for those events that happen early on in the fall, in the first semester, to kind of get ahead of the game so that they don't have to scramble and worry about school starting and then getting all their materials in to maybe not even present to a board that has been ratified yet. And so one of the main reasons we're doing this summer board is so that those orgs who need it can get a head start on some of the work they need to do to host their events kind of at the beginning of the school year.
Okay, awesome. Thank you all. As a community outreach coordinator myself, I know the importance of that, and every single one of y'all hit the head in terms of acknowledging one, the realities of summer, just how school campus is during the summer, but also really hit the big points of that. So I really appreciate y'all for that. And with that, I
Thank you, Senator VP.
Hello, I get the normal questions, so if you know me, you know what's coming. How do you plan to uphold the university and ASCSU initiatives of diversity, equity, and inclusion?
I think it starts from acknowledging that you know what you know and you don't know what you don't know. You can make every effort to try to put yourself in someone else's shoes or position or perspective. But if that's not your lived experience, you have to rely on kind of others around you to provide that context for you. And so to me, diversity, equity, and inclusion means listening and active listening and understanding that there are some groups who know more on certain topics than I do. And those perspectives are vital. And I think it's great that we have a large board because those perspectives are kind of represented in BSOF. And so to me, it just means a lot of listening and a lot of acknowledgement, personal acknowledgement that you can't know everything about everyone's lived experience.
I currently serve as the deputy for the Department of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for ASCSU, and that experience has given me the perspective to always go into things with an open mind, and then to always be receptive of other people's identities, and then just go into it with the established fact in my mind that I don't know everything, and I'm always open to hearing others out, and then also open to change.
I think in the context of this board, there's a lot of responsibility for the chair to create a diverse board and a board that represents many perspectives. And I think that you've done a good job with that. I also serve as I work as a writing tutor, and that's given me the experience to work with a wide array of students who are working on a wide array of projects. And I feel like that has taught me how to take my personal biases out of the equation and focus on the work itself. And I feel like I can apply that in a similar way to DEI work in BSOL.
So
we are now out of time for question and answer.
For your information, how many more members are on the speakers list? Two. Am I included in the number or am I not included in the number? Okay, I move to exhaust the speakers list.
Second.
Oh, no, you can't because it's already ended.
You
You can motion to increase the time.
Or the time is over, right?
We didn't get a notification that it was ready.
I did not get the notification, but you can motion to increase the time.
Senator Davis.
Can we motion to extend it by 1 minute so we can make a motion to extend? Motion to extend the time by 1 minute.
I second it.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? Great.
Motion to extend the speakers list.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? Ayes have it. This is a great loophole. Y'all were answering, so you can continue.
So I worked in everything from construction to dining hall. And doing that, I really learned how to hear and listen, not just kind of make my own decisions. So I feel like that's what I really want to bring into this. I really want to take in and hear everyone's diverse perspectives because I can only live in my shoes. But it's important to hear those stories and those experiences of people who live in other shoes as well. So that's kind of really how I want to stay like vigilant of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
So I like to approach everything with a willingness to learn. Like I obviously don't know everything about everybody and everybody's lives that they live. So I'd like to just be open and willing to learn about what people go through on a daily basis. And I think that that's important to bring into something like this so that everybody has an equal and fair opportunity to get the funding that they deserve and like promote their events that they want to do and like reach their goals as well.
I really like the emphasis of listening, just listening. If there's so many opportunities to go to events, and just hang out in offices here and talk to people and listen and ask questions when it's appropriate. So I hope to continue to do those experiences.
One of the greatest gifts we have, like just in being where we're at around all these amazing people is perspective. And so it's one of the greatest gifts that I think I get to have on a consistent basis is getting to talk with some of my peers, you know, learn what you guys do and learn what everybody does. And with that though, it is no greater time right now than where we're at in the world to uphold our principles of diversity, equity, inclusion, and continuously do the work and get to know each other more and understand not only why we fund certain things, but why it's important to make sure that we're including all students and make sure that we're making equitable practices so students feel welcomed and involved to apply for certain funding. And so I love this question, even though it's one of the ones we get all the time, but I love this question. So I hope that effectively answers.
As Nick previously said, ditto to what everyone said. I think it's important though to take it from take a step further than just listening and seek out, like you were kind of saying, going to events, staying involved within the student body is how you get the most diverse perspectives, but also once again, recognizing that you only have one perspective.
Thank you, Chair Kelly.
Wish the previous question.
Second.
Ridiculous. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So the ayes have it. And with that, we ask all the candidates to step outside. Please hand the mic back. We'll start discussion debate with first raised Blackford, Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to say that these candidates are, I think, very qualified and they have experience. They seem very professional, mature, and I have no doubt no doubt that what's the word I'm trying to say? Sorry, it's late, y'all.
Competence?
I have full confidence in these candidates, and I would urge a vote yes.
Chair Kelly.
I would like to motion the previous question.
Seconded. Is there any dissent?
Well, it was not the second.
And with that, we move into a period of voting. Chair Osborne, will a motion to approve these candidates with unanimous consent? Any dissent? Seeing none, these candidates are approved, ratified with unanimous consent. Aye.
I like that.
Yeah. Huddle around, everybody, huddle around, make a circle.
Are y'all ready? Right hands raised, repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear.
Do
solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution
set forth by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
and will rightfully perform
and will rightfully perform
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
With that. And with that, we move on to list 307, assisting accounting with legislative spending.
Ashton, we need you back down here. Ashton, we need you back down here for your lex. So this lex seeks to help Slice and the ASCSU accounting departments track financial bills that are passed by the Senate. Presentation.
Okay, hey everyone, I'm back. Okay, so basically this arose when Tim stepped into the shoes of the Slice Accounting Department and Desiree as well as the accountant for ASCSU. So there's just a lot of, in the past, problems with just tracking how spending worked in general. Tim and Desiree reconciled like everything that's ever been spent this year, which was a big help. And then they asked me to write a bill to help, or write a lex them understand the Senate process for spending even more. So I'm just going to go through each of the points and kind of elaborate on how it'll help them understand better. So in the whereas, so it's basically to establish a fiscal policy for the Senate to help ASCSU financial and accounting team. Like I was saying, past accounting difficulties, just trying to help them out, make it easier. We also collaborated with Tim and Desiree on this. So Tim had a couple of key points he wanted to highlight, such as funding a position. He was saying that, like, let's say hypothetically you commit like $100,000 to a position for like a specific period of time that you can only have them hired for 6 months out of the year, just like based on timing. He said getting it like more specific, like is it going to be like monthly? Because you can't really pay him that whole 100K in like 6 months. So he was elaborating on that. Another thing is moving funds externally. I know Claire with the WGAC bill worked a lot with Tim. It's just somewhat difficult because you have to, if you move them externally, you have to track like pretty much everything that's being spent, just like under CSU financial policy. That's the two main things. And then we also discuss more outside of that. So therefore, basically we want to create Article 2, Section 210, requirements for legislative spending. So Section A, each bill be forwarded to the accountant with a detailed summary, and so the parliamentarian will be in charge of sending that. That's external, you have to get a detailed plan approved by the Slice accounting manager, so that's Tim right now, and the ASCSU accountant as well. And then the plan includes, and Tim will help out with that and all that, but it'll include like routine reporting, like if it's like end of the year, like summary, there's just different things he needs. Yeah, and so after it's approved, there needs to be a meeting with parliamentarian, budgetary affairs, director of finance, ASCSU accountant, to just plan it out in the book, because like hypothetically, it spans multiple years. You got to have like a really good understanding of that because the money can get lost in the processing. So next up, if it spans multiple years,
I will say you don't have to read it out in full.
Okay.
If you don't want to.
Okay. I won't. I'll keep it quicker then. All right. So multiple years, basically, you just like have to vote on it so that we all understand, and then that gets sent to the accounting. So then C is like about making a really like comprehensive plan, and you can work with like ASCSU and Slice on that. And then salary positions, we thought it would best to be a certain amount each month rather than just like a certain amount designated for like a specific amount of time, just to make it easier to track the spending when they get hired. And then if it's delayed, like the proportionate amount of funding would roll back. So like, let's say you give 100 grand for 2 years, don't hire anyone for a year, 50K would roll back. But yeah, that's it.
Thank you. We open it up to Q&A. Chair Trout.
Thank you. So I have a question, and you don't have to have the answer to it because it might be a little more, I don't know, obscure is the word I want to use, but obscure is going to be the word that I use. Is the reason that this is in Article 2 instead of Article 9, which is all about fiscal management? Is it just fiscally because this is ASC or Senate spending specifically? Or was there any reason for it? Was just like, this makes sense and pop it in?
Yeah, the reason initially was Senate specifically, but I'm also open to change that. Not a huge deal, as long as it's in there.
Okay, that's all I have.
Yeah. Would you rather, can I ask people questions? Would you rather have it there?
I don't really mind one way or another. I was looking, I was like, that's kind of interesting. If folks in committee want to change that, then
Yeah,
they
cool.
can. I don't really have a preference one way or another.
Sounds good.
Any other questions? Great. This is Lex.
Yes.
We'll start with budgetary and internal. Okay, and moving on to Bill 5322, Community and Community Act. Please, Jeff.
This bill aims to bring awareness to the ongoing rise of bias-based hatred expressed towards Arab, Muslim, Jewish, Israeli, Palestine, and people of color of students as a result of the ongoing conflict in Gaza and to call for the administration of CSU to do better in providing support for students affected by the conflict.
Sorry, y'all, I thought I had my opening thing up, but I was just kidding myself. There we go. Okay. Here we go. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Madam Speaker, members of the Senate and the CSU community. I hope you're doing well. Tonight, I'm presenting the Humanity and Community Act for Senate's consideration. Before we begin, there's a quick content warning, which is, if you could scroll up just a little bit. At the very top up here in bold, there's also, I think it's the third whereas clause that states it. This bill contains discussions and descriptions regarding acts of genocide, ethnic cleansing, mass killings, war crimes, racism, and other acts of violence. So please take care of yourself when going over this bill, both in here and future discussions. This bill has been in the works for months and is a very, very long bill. In case you haven't been able to look at it yet, it's 30 pages. Don't ask me. Don't ask me what I did during my academics. Don't ask me about that. I want to thank nope, I'm jumping ahead. But this bill is very long and it has had a lot of community engagement to ensure that we got this right. I want to thank the community members who helped us throughout this process and continue to do so, as well as Letty, our Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, who unfortunately could not be here tonight. This bill, at its core, demands ASCSU not remain silent on a conflict that's seen tens of thousands killed and many more wounded and displaced, one that our community in the world has seen unfold in graphic detail and has been galvanized around for the past 6 months. This bill condemns the atrocities committed on October 7th. It also calls for a permanent ceasefire and an end to the ongoing genocide against the Palestinian people. It also calls for CSU to work with members of the community to provide better support and resources to communities most directly impacted. This bill is still a work in progress and simply cannot be all encapsulated in an opening statement. So I encourage folks to go to committees and ask questions, which I will be requesting that this bill be sent to all committees, just to ensure that as many of y'all can review this bill as possible. I also encourage members of exec to attend committees as well and get their input in there as well. And now with that, I look forward to y'all's questions.
We'll start with questions. We'll get the first Chair Oswald.
There are some issues that I've been in meetings about because you sent me this bill earlier on. There is some things in the bill regarding to the Clery Act that just don't correspond whatsoever with what the Clery Act does. Would you be willing to change that in committee, or is that a no-go for you?
Yes, that's something that I'm
reevaluating, in terms of like now I'm doing research on that now, so that will be changed in committee. I'm just making sure that I understand like the proper ways to do it and how to best amend those. So those will be edits made in committee.
Would that also align with editing APAC's role within the therefore clause, because APAC cannot fulfill that role as it is not within their purview?
Yes.
Okay, sweet, thank you.
Thank you. Associate Miller?
Hi. Do you see any potential cons with setting a precedent of taking stances on global issues?
I don't believe so. And the big reason I say that is because ASCSU has done that multiple times. I was going to look for the bill, but I got a little spaced out today. But there was a previous bill where ASCSU called for the release of hostages, specifically where CSU hostages were involved. So it's not the first time that CSU has been involved, has talked about conflicts internationally. I think the big focus is less of this is an international conflict that we should talk about, but this involves there are community members here who are directly impacted. I think it's important that we as an institutional body have the ability to call for I think for all of these are pretty common sense things to best support our constituents who are really being impacted right now. If that answers your question.
Yes, that did. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. Associate Myers?
I just have a question about the last therefore clause, the one about the health center and the counselors. Yeah. I just wanted to know, like, I have a couple questions, but what is the specific training that they need to have, or you're requesting that they have?
Yeah, so that isn't something I have fully outlined, but in talks with folks, is that while the multicultural counseling is really beneficial, there isn't nothing within their particular spectrum in terms of helping folks specifically with that level of trauma in terms of being victims of a hate crime. And there's a lot of different intersectional aspects of that, that from what I've been informed on in consulting with students and community members is that just the health center to their thought isn't focused or isn't aptly equipped on in terms of crime specific trauma.
Yeah. You kind of answered my second question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway, because I want to hear your thoughts. Like, hiring these counselors may not be done in a timely manner, like just kind of how it goes. What would incorporating this idea into the multicultural counseling that's offered in LSC, what would that look like to you?
Yeah, I think because you're right, it is something that just can't happen tomorrow. Not only because of just how the health center is structured, specifically when it comes to its SFRB funding, since it is a student fee area. It's my understanding that that's basically done right now, at least in terms of the health center anyway. I'm not entirely sure about everyone else's. So if it was to be additional funding from SFRB, that they would have to wait until next year if this is something that they were interested in. But in terms of other additional, is the question more focused on funding resources or just so I can better answer?
I don't even know, funding, logistics, anything that you have input that you would like to give on.
Yeah, I could say, and again, I'm not an expert on the health centers, how they get that funding. I'm sure that they could potentially request from other CSU entities, so that Office of the President and whatnot, but again, I'm not an expert in terms of how those fundings are. You notice throughout my time here, I've never once authored a bill that asks for money because budgets are scary.
That answers my question. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Senator Davis.
Actually, I probably can provide some SFRB stuff too, but if you go back down to that clause, sorry to make you scroll again. Would that be, so this is similar, would this push them to ask for counselors for this year or over the summer or next year?
This would be ideally for, I think realistically next year. I think it would be really hard for them to get it now, and I don't know the terms of how they'd be able to get those appropriate funds over the summer. I just, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm aware, there isn't really anything over the summer. But yeah, I hope that kind of answers. It's kind of a I don't know question, but I don't really know.
It does. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Seeing none, for the author's request, this will be sent to every committee.
Thanks, y'all.
And with that, because of this last bill One, not being sent out in the weekly. And two, the author's not being here to present. It will be pushed to next week. And with that, we actually move to committee reports. Sorry. This is a resolution. It says, yeah, I don't know the resolution number is. Resolution support of unisex housing debt. And with that, did you?
Wait, point of order, I guess, for resolution versus bill.
Oh.
Yes.
Is this? No, I have one question. I have to think about more than 3 seconds. Ignore me.
Great. We move on to committee reports, internal affairs.
Come to a committee this week. We'll have a few bills to discuss. It's 12 to 1 on Monday.
Thank you. Budgetary affairs. The committee 12 to 1 on Tuesday, and please email me if you cannot make that time, but you have questions, comments, or concerns about the legislation. Thank you, AU. University affairs. DEI.
Come to a committee. You'll get to see my vice chair chair it. It will be fun and funny. I do.
Thank you. Caucus reports, Women and Social Justice Caucus.
No.
Where's Accessibility Caucus? Oh, there it is. Sorry, I can see it. Accessibility Caucus.
Official ballot for that. Come to caucus, we'll be reviewing the bill, so my vice chair will be chairing. Also, if you're interested in being a accessibility caucus chair, because all the caucuses are unique. Accessibility caucus is unique just because it does reports and doing those things, and that's bylaws thing. So like caucus bylaws thing. So I hope that people in future would do it. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. Thank you. I yield.
And Housing Caucus Chair is not here. And a roll call.
Motion needs to be getting roll calls. I mean roll call.
Second. I need dissent. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? Ayes have it. With that, we adjourn. I'll see y'all next week.
Hey, Madison.